Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube audiobook series for The Forbidden Truth, written by Abby Matthias. I am Darius, and today I am introducing Chapter 1. If you missed the prologue, I would highly suggest going back. And if you have not read The Snake and the Rose, I would suggest reading that one first because this is the sequel to that. But if you are all caught up and ready to go, we will continue on with Chapter 1. Party time.
After Darius's double arm freakout, the days went by smoothly. I mean, there were moments where his arms came out randomly because of them being new, but nothing catastrophic like we were semi-used to erupted from our confusing volcano of chaos. However, the biggest thing that changed besides his limbs was our communication and bond. After everything that happened on October 2nd, I felt more comfortable talking to Darius about things. He was truly like a father to me, even though he wasn't my biological dad. In regards to that, I didn't really go to my actual dad for emotional support to begin with. He didn't really understand my emotions or took interest in everything I said like my mother does. Despite that, he still loves me, and I love him also very much. But it was nice to have another father figure who I could go to with more of my personal problems and topics, especially if he was the one protecting me almost 24/7. Along with that, I started involving Darius to do more things with me and gave him more access to my body. Like, for instance, some days he would go to school for me while I attended in the demon world. However, I never allowed him to go on Tuesdays for me because of that brat Natasha. When it came to her, I had to hold my tongue. There were multiple occasions where he shouted at her about her rudeness and disrespect towards others, even though I was the only one who could hear him. So, in result to that behavior, I always attended that class within my body in order to not look like a jerk. I know she was an incredibly insensitive human being, but that doesn't mean I had to be. But again, that is besides the point. When he was in my body and not in school, I would sometimes try and practice with my lightning powers or my force field. However, I never practiced without his help. Anyhow, let's fast forward to October 30th of 2021. It was the day before Halloween, and I finally had all my props and accessories for my costume just in time for the big day. As soon as my last package was delivered, I began to test out the look. I knew the costume was good and all, but I wanted to experiment more with the makeup part of it. I was, of course, going for a male look, like I was used to doing, yet there was still a lot of changes I could make in order to improve it. While I was in the middle of contouring my nose, my phone began to ring and show Scarlett's caller ID. So curious as to why she would be calling me, I answered it. "Hello?" I greeted with a slight swing in my voice.
Hey, Abby. Glad I could catch you at a convenient time. I thought you were doing homework and didn't expect you to answer.
"Nope, not today," I said, trying to hide my frustration already. "I'm working on some other things instead. What's up?"
Well, I am inviting you to something that's right up your alley. You'll love it.
"And what alley might that be?"
My Halloween costume party. It's tonight, starting at 5.
"Well, it's kind of late notice as it's already 2:30 p.m. Another thing, where is this party anyways? I thought your parents no longer wanted you to throw parties at their house because of the last one you had."
Oh, come on, Abby.
She said, annoyed and with a huff.
It's still early enough to tell you. Also, shows how much you look at social media. I moved in with my boyfriend. We bought a new house in Richfield recently, so it's like a housewarming party and a celebration of Halloween.
Okay then. Yeah, I don't get on social media that much, and I'm sorry I didn't know. But anyways, I don't think a party in a rich town with a large crowd is my type of venue.
Please, Abby? I want you to come. Live a little and have fun instead of being a party pooper. Look, Darla can come too, and Damien already said yes to coming. So, please, come and allow yourself to loosen up.
At that point, Darius was staring at me like I was going to make a crazy decision. Which, I think I was. If I was going to be with Damien and Darius, I knew I was going to be fine. They wouldn't let anything bad happen to me and ensure I have a good time. So, I gave him a nervous look back and replied to her invite. Okay, fine. If you really want me there, I will come.
Yay! Sounds good. I'll text you the address. See you then.
And then the phone abruptly hung up without a chance to say goodbye. Upon the ending of the call, I laid my phone down on the little desk within my cosplay room and turned myself to Darius. I could already see he was as frustrated as I was. But again, I wasn't willing enough to say the next sentence that he said out loud.
Man, she's such a selfish bitch.
Well, that's Scarlet for you. But now to approach the next problem, I said, trying to brush off the topic. I need to buy a new costume for tonight and find you one for Darla.
First of all, why don't we make another persona of me instead of the sexualized girl figure? You and I both know only trouble comes from that form. I would still much prefer to be a male than a female.
I understand that, but we already struggled to come up with your backstory as Darla. You want to struggle with another one? I'm surprised we are still able to pull this charade off. Lastly, Darla was the one invited, not some random stranger that Scarlet doesn't know. After that, he nodded in agreement because he knew I was right. I mean, I understood his struggle and discomfort as a woman. That form really did bring nothing but problems, somewhat. There were pros and cons to every time he was in that female persona. But even though he already agreed to be Darla, I gave him a final reason why he needed to be a woman for tonight. You know parties are not my thing. I figured if I went with you and Damien, I would feel more comfortable actually going. That way I would still have people to conversate with and actually enjoy the night with my friends.
That is very true.
He said after a slight pause.
Okay, I'll go as Darla. But what do you mean you have to find a costume for you and I?
Darius, it's a costume party for Halloween. You have to wear a costume.
Then tell me, Abby.
He said, a little concerned.
What costume size do I need in order to hide the mountains upon my chest within that form?
I don't know. But we might have to make a costume of our own using your shirt size.
How? You can't order anything on the internet and have it ship here today. What would I even dress up as?
One of the easiest things to make shift out of nothing. A witch. All you need is a black dress, a witch hat, a broom, and black shoes, which you already have. Darius kind of stood in his place semi-shocked that I came up with that idea on the spot. Either that, or was slightly dreading the reality of wearing a dress. However, I liked my first hypothesis rather than my second. So I decided to rub it into his face a little. Yeah, you thought I wasn't going to be able to come up with something. Look who's the quick thinker now. After that outburst, he smiled and chuckled while bringing his hands up to give me a round of applause.
Very well done. But for the record, this part of Halloween is what you're more experienced in. It's practically cosplay for you.
True that. But besides the point, I still need a new costume for tonight. I stated, repeating myself.
What? Why? You just spent your money on making your own costume for this year. Why wouldn't you want to show it off?
Because it's a male cosplay. If Damien's going, I don't want to make him feel weird. We are dating, you know? I also can't stress enough that Scarlett's gonna give me dirty looks for it.
So what?
He said, throwing his hands up.
Your boyfriend's not gonna care how you dress up, and who gives a shit what Scarlett thinks? She isn't your guardian or parent, and there were no set costumes you have to wear. As your protector demon, I say don't bend to her standards and listen to your demon who actually cares about your happiness.
But that's not the only factor, Darius.
Then what else is there that would affect your choice of costume?
You? I said hesitantly.
Why would I care? You live your life how you want. I won't stop you.
But this isn't just some random male costume, though.
Then show me what it is. You have the makeup on for it already. Prove to me that your costume is going to bother me to where I say you can't wear it.
At that moment, I froze in place, unable to move. The reason why I was so hesitant was because the demon I chose to be was him. I did my absolute best to find the right props and accessories to recreate the most accurate look that I could compared to him. The only thing was that I wasn't going to paint my skin red and magenta. I didn't really know how to effectively paint and contour my face with body paint, and I figured Darius wouldn't appreciate that part to begin with. So ultimately, I leaned more towards a humanized version of himself. So, I turned myself around and started to continue my transformation like he wanted me to. I used liquid latex to attach fake demon horns to my forehead, and then applied scar wax to surround each base. That way, each one was more stabilized and also gave off the illusion that they grew out of my head. Next, I placed my red contacts within my eyes that resembled closely to his. Finally, the last step with my makeup was to apply red eyeshadow to give off some sort of red skin. Once I finished, I placed a pair of circle glasses on my face to hide my eyes for the time being and placed a black male wig upon my head. Moving on to my wardrobe, I bound my chest with a binder and dressed myself with my red and black textured shirt and black pants. Hell, I even got formal black shoes to complete the entire outfit. So as I stood, dressed like him, I allowed him to turn himself around and saw his mouth drop. I knew right off the bat that he knew who I was supposed to be. But after a few seconds, his face started to light up as he started to circle around me, viewing me from every angle. He spoke his thoughts out loud.
Wow. Nice job. That's pretty impressive and accurate. Especially the wig.
Really? You're not embarrassed or ashamed? I asked, confused as hell.
What? No, of course not.
He exclaimed. He then bent down and grabbed my hand to hold it within his as we made eye contact once more.
I am so proud of you because you're breaking your barriers and feel comfortable enough to cosplay as me. This is a huge step for you, and I know that. You have made so much progress since this all started, and I want you to be proud of yourself as well. Show off this amazing costume and display how talented you are.
Upon his words, my cheeks began to blush and turn red. It was rewarding to hear that from him, and I truly took it to heart. I should be proud and take more credit for doing this. I guess I was just worried about others disapproving it that I assumed I should switch my costume. However, if Darius was okay with it, then I was sticking to it. Eventually, the time reached 4 o'clock and I needed to go shopping for Darius's costume. Still dressed for the occasion, he eventually shapeshifted into Darla and we were on our way to Beloved 20s. While we were there, we managed to find a black dress with white spider web designs that somewhat concealed him well. The only thing was that his cleavage from his breast showed a little, but it wasn't as bad as the shirt he was given originally by Satan. Along with the dress, we found a witch hat, an old broom, and another black pair of flats, even though he didn't need them. We managed to get a full costume together, yet people gave me weird stares because of mine. They just saw a random person dressed as a demon shopping with a hot girl. However, I didn't take their expressions to heart because I probably would never see them again like this. So once we found everything we needed, I purchased the items and made Darius change in the backseat of my car. Now, I knew it wasn't the best changing room in the world, but I still had a big blanket in the car that he levitated around himself, so he could have the privacy to change. After about 3 minutes, he was done and came into the front seat. He sat elegantly and crossed his arms as if he was nervous or embarrassed about his outfit. I really didn't blame him as I knew of his situation. So, trying to make him feel better, I tried to start up a conversation by giving him compliments. "Well, look at you being so breathtaking to look at. I wish I could look that stunning." He then turned his head to me with sarcasm written plainly on his face and said,
Oh, ha ha, very funny.
"Darius, I mean it. You look amazing."
I understand that, and I thank you for the compliment. I'm just not comfortable with this body and looking this way. It seems like you're trying to make me look like the stereotypical party girl.
"What do you mean? I was trying my best to get you clothes that you would feel comfortable in. I understand that this isn't your true body, but this is what people know you as in the human world."
I know. But it seems like from the start you have tried to make me express a really feminine facade by telling me certain things to say and expecting me to dress a certain way.
Well, for starters, I instructed you on what to say or how to act because I know who you truly are. You have acted very closely to my personality, and you have been doing a great job. And another thing, because of how Satan dressed you the first time when this form came around, you have to kind of stick with it. You have already established the kind of style you wear. But I want you to know that I would never, ever try and make you change yourself into someone you're not. I would be a huge hypocrite if I told you to be a girly girl. At that moment, he raised his head to me again and gazed into my eyes.
Really?
Of course. I don't even act like a typical girl, and you know that. Why would it be fair for you to act extremely feminine when I don't even do so myself? Yes, I have my moments, but I don't act like it all the time. I wouldn't, and will never ask you to become a party girl or extremely feminine like Scarlet.
Well, that makes me feel a lot better.
He said, smirking a bit.
I guess I don't grasp the whole girl aspect of things.
But you grasp it enough to be my protector demon. That's all that matters. I am proud of you for being the understanding and reliable demon that you are. You have had ample amount of time to change things and take my life. But you haven't. So I must not be too bad and not drive you insane. Regardless, though, I appreciate you and everything you do for me. As I said that, he smiled again widely and responded.
Well, thank you. I try to do the best I can. But we better get going if we are going to make it there on time.
He spoke, pointing his finger at the time. I guided my eyes to the radio of my car and seen it was 4:30 p.m. My eyes widened a bit as I realized I still had to get to Richfield in somewhat rush hour traffic, so I quickly typed in the address on my phone to start driving to the designated location. As we arrived, we saw the house was massive with a curved driveway. A few cars were already there, and we managed to get a parking spot right by the road. That way, we were not blocked in by anyone else, and we could just drive out when we leave. We exited the car and immediately noticed a group of males stood in a slight circle on the front lawn. There wasn't anyone I knew within the congregating group, but they were just standing around talking to one another. At least they were until we started walking towards the front door. Once they noticed our presence, those guys started staring and pointing our way. Using my peripherals, I saw Darius getting nervous and starting to close his eyes as his dread was spiking again. However, he kept his head up and tried to look natural. Regardless of his efforts, I knew that wasn't going to work. For as we were in the middle of the driveway, I seen one of the men beginning to walk our way. So thinking fast, I made a drastic plan to ensure no conflict and save us from trouble. I placed my arm around Darius' shoulder and started talking in a deeper voice.
I have to say, babe, you look stunning as hell for a witch.
He then gave me a confused look and started talking in the head.
Oh, what are you doing?
I suggest that if you don't want to get hit on right now, you act like you're my girlfriend.
Oh, why thank you. You don't look bad yourself, seeming how you come from there.
He said, attempting to laugh girlishly. He actually did a good job with it, but that was besides the point. As we kept up with the charade, the man turned himself around immediately and made it back to his friend group. Thankfully, because of that scene, Darius and I made it to the door and recited to our normal selves to continue on with the night. As we entered Scarlett's residence, the main hall with the dance floor was decorated from floor to ceiling with Halloween stuff. The DJ was still setting up while the speakers were playing music for entertainment purposes. Looking around some more, we seen the living room was changed into a chilling VIP-like section, while the dining room to the right had snacks and beverages galore. Of course, there was alcoholic drinks, as I suppose some of the people were gonna be over 21, but I had no intention on partaking in that. And as we now stood within the main area, I heard Scarlett screaming from the top of the stairs.
Oh my god! Darla, you came!
As we lifted our heads, she was speed-walking down the stairs with excitement to see the female next to me. Scarlett was wearing some sort of bunny outfit except with lots of leather and fishnets. Then the final touch was the platform high heels that clacked loudly every time she stepped. Of course, I knew she would go with a more sexual costume, but that was her choice. Anyhow, as she made it to the main floor, she ran and embraced Darla with a hug.
Darla, you look absolutely hot. I have no doubt you will be able to find a boyfriend tonight.
Upon finishing her sentence, she turned her head to me and displayed a smirk.
Or maybe you already did. Who is this?
Scarlett, it's me, Abby. Darla came with me, remember? At that answer, her eyes widened and her tone changed drastically.
Oh, sorry. Well, you fooled me. I guess I stand corrected. You'll totally be able to find someone here. Anyhow, make yourselves at home. I gotta go and find Robert.
And then she ran off within a heartbeat without a nicer greeting. With that interaction in mind, I began to doubt why I even came to the stupid party. Yeah, she invited me, but she really didn't want me. I knew she had some sort of grudge against me for not being feminine like her. She hated when I acted more like a male than a female, and still tries to correct me on how I act. It was a lot worse now than when we first started being friends. But Damien would interfere and change the subject whenever the conversation got out of hand. I know that I shouldn't be treated like this, but for some reason I still stay. I I bet she just wanted Darla to come because she's trying to make a new best friend who's like her. I was just being used to bring her what she really wanted. While I was stuck within my thoughts, Darius stepped in.
Man, she can be such an asshole.
Yeah, I know. I can see that, I said somberly. He caught on to my somberness and started rubbing my back while I debriefed myself. I never should have came. I knew she wouldn't care about me and my costume. All she wants is you. I was just played to bring you.
If that is true, that was a truly shitty thing of her to do. However, I know a good reason why you should stay for the party.
And what is that? I said, turning my head to him.
Damien.
Upon that reply, I remembered the phone call earlier when Scarlett told me he was coming. My stomach started fluttering while my heart started beating faster just thinking about him. He was gonna come and rescue me from these awkward interactions with Scarlett. Sweet Damien was gonna dance and love me while the other girls would be jealous of my fortune. Then, out of nowhere, I heard the entrance door starting to open. Darius and I turned around upon the noise and seen Damien come in, as if he sensed me thinking about him. His costume for the night was a vampire, as he had a full suit on with a cape. He smirked and smiled as he gazed at us standing in the wide open area. Even though I could see the fake fangs he had in his mouth, I was caught more in the moment of him actually being here and wearing a suit.
Well, hey, Darla. It's good to see you again. But I do have to ask, where is my beautiful Abby?
He questioned sarcastically. With his remark, I started to blush a little. However, Darius played along with the game and didn't allow me to regroup.
Actually, she is right here.
He said, gesturing to me. Damien then fully peered at me with shocked eyes, except I could still see the love shining through them.
Well, excuse me for my mispronunciation and misunderstanding. However, I will be delighted to dance the night away and love upon a majestic and handsome male demon.
After his response, he walked towards me so we stood only a few inches away from each other. The laughter within my chest built up and made me chuckle a little before commenting back.
And what makes you say you'll be able to? Other people are around.
I said in my lower voice from earlier. However, he just kept smirking and said one final remark.
Because I have the most amazing partner, and I want the world to know.
Then swiftly, he took me in his arms and dipped me down. Taken aback by the sudden action, I looked deeper into his eyes for a moment before he leaned himself in to kiss me. This whole interaction with Damien caught me off guard. Yet I wasn't alarmed by his advances. We have been dating for a month and 4 days now, and he has showed his affection quite often. But he didn't do anything as dramatic as this in public. However, I didn't mind it at all. I kissed him back as he held me effortlessly while embracing the moment. Eventually, after a quick makeout session, he stopped and pulled me back up so we were both standing again.
Damn, I can see your mental turn-on showing.
Darius interrupted through my head. Upon the interruption, I snapped to attention and recalled that my protector demon was standing only a few feet away from me. As I grew somewhat horror-struck, I turned my head to him and saw the menacing smile creeping on his face. While we both continued to stare at each other, Damien coughed awkwardly and started talking.
And of course, we can catch up with Darla while having some fun. I'm sorry for the overload of affection in front of you, my friend. If you didn't know or couldn't tell, Abby and I are dating.
I can see that all right. I figured it would happen soon enough, to be quite honest. Congrats to you both. You seem like a very cute couple.
I happily shrugged as Damien then proceeded to talk to my demon unknowingly. My boyfriend was asking typical questions that anyone would ask, such as, "What have you been up to? How's college going? And what's life brought you?" In response to all of his questions, Darius answered them accordingly. He was almost making himself sound like me when it came to school, busy and always having something to do. But yet, I wasn't jumping for joy when I realized that. It made me recall how much time I lost with my friends because of my huge focus on school. Yet I didn't want to dwell on the subject. I wanted to enjoy the time I was having with the two people that were closest to me right now. Once they were done with their small talk, Damien turned back to me and started asking about my Halloween character.
So, is that costume of yours a future cosplay, or just something you made up?
No, this will be a cosplay I do. I feel pretty confident in it. Plus, I think it looks interesting.
Oh, yes it does. And does this cosplay character have a name?
His name is Darius, I said, realizing I screwed up a little. I willingly said this costume was my protector demon. My eyes shot open a bit from the sudden mistake, but it wasn't from the thought of that. What really made my worries strike was the look Damien exchanged with me upon giving out my answer. His face displayed shock and suspicion as if it took meaning to him. But yet, I wasn't sure if that was an accurate judgment. Maybe I was reading his expression wrong. So I nervously decided to ask him about it to better understand his reaction. "Are you okay?" I gently questioned.
Yeah, I'm fine. I just haven't heard that kind of name in forever. Isn't that like a name that was used back in the day?
He said, chuckling a bit. "I mean, yeah, but if you have a problem with it, I can change it,"
No, please don't change it.
he said, laying his hands upon my arms while squeezing them gently.
It is an amazing name for him. He sounds heroic and intimidating. I love it.
After his words, he kissed me softly on the lips again to change my frown into a smile. It worked, to say the least. For as he stopped, I gave out a slight giggle and he maneuvered me back to his side so we could continue on with the night. As we moved on, all three of us got beverages that were non-alcoholic and indulged in some snacks to fill our stomachs. Then, a while later, we made it to the dance floor and fooled around as a group before the house became crammed. Some of the guests I knew, but a lot of them I didn't, as they seemed like more rich folk. However, that fact didn't really matter. I had my own little friend group, and Scarlett would come over once in a while to see how we were doing. Yet, despite the pleasant greetings, she kept bringing her boyfriend over and danced sexually in front of us. AKA, she was grinding and thrusting into his pelvis. That, of course, made me a little uncomfortable, but it was their house and their life. I wasn't going to correct them in their own home. Regardless of the mood shift when she came around, these sessions didn't last long though, for Scarlett kept being called by her visitors. So it was mainly Damien, Darla, and I. As much as I wanted to hang out with my old friend, I knew I would have a better time with the two boys, and accepted the idea to continue the night of debauchery. As the night went on, Damien began to show more affection in front of our third wheel and the rest of the household. He was holding me close while we swayed to the music on the dance floor. Nothing was bothering me, and I felt like I was in heaven. Yet after some time, I seen people starting to look at us awkwardly. Now, I know I said I didn't care about the crowd's reaction at the store, But my body was now regretting that phrase as it was filling with fright for some reason. I felt so judged by the other guests with observing their gazes. My mind kept trying to reflect on why they would suddenly be displaying such judgmental expressions. Was it because of my costume? Did people truly think we were a gay couple and they were offended by the idea? Or could they tell I was a girl and despised my efforts of trying to be a guy for the night? My eyes continued to scan the room and saw all the girls in sexual outfits. I was the oddball out. Even the costume for Darius blended in better with the crowd. And I realized I was going to be the laughingstock at the party. Then to top it all off, a romantic couple in front of me began to point in my direction with disgusted faces. It was at that exact moment my heart sank to the point where my true emotions began to show. Coming here tonight was a horrible mistake. I never should have came as Darius. Realizing how foolish I was, I quickly ran off and made my way up the staircase to hide from the world. As I was running, Darius was trying to talk in my head, but I wasn't listening and didn't respond. I heard a second pair of feet running behind me, but I still ignored it to get away from everyone. Once I got up the stairs, I seen a patio door and bolted through it without hesitation. Now, I was standing on a deck that viewed a good chunk of Richfield. I clenched onto the railing for dear life, hoping to become invisible. I was out of breath, panicked, and ashamed all at once. How could I be so stupid? I should have dressed way differently than what I wanted to. I mean, there were so many choices. Sexy bunny, pirate, a nun. I could have done something special for Damien, and I chose to be my prized male demon. I couldn't be like any of the other girls. They knew how to act proper and make a man go crazy for them. I didn't know a damn thing. And now I was the foolish embarrassment at this party. I should have taken Scarlett's reaction more seriously. However, my thoughts were brought to a halt once I felt Damien's hand on my back.
Hey,
He said gently.
what's the matter? Why did you run away like that? You look white as a ghost.
Because of the faces we were getting. I lied. I was getting. Didn't you see the couple next to us pointing at me in disgust? He then closed his eyes and let out a sigh.
Yes, I did. Why does that matter, my love?
Doesn't that scare or embarrass you? How can you be so calm about it? I don't even get why I agreed to come here. The only reason why I chose this was because of you and Darla. I said, telling a half-truth because of the Darla situation.
Abby, it doesn't matter what they think. I am very glad you came.
But what about those other girls? How can you not be attracted to them? For fuck's sake, even Scarlett has a better chance with you than me if she didn't have a boyfriend. She is so hot, and I can't even compete with girls like that.
Hey,
He said, turning me towards him to look in his eyes.
I am not attracted to them because they are selfish fakes. They are nothing compared to you. I am so lucky to be with you. You are like a diamond in the rough, and I don't understand how you can't see it. I most certainly can, and I hope that is what matters to you. Just because other people may not see it doesn't mean that ones most important to you don't. I love you for who you are, and nothing will change that. Not even those sexualized skinny twigs can twist my mind.
I stood on the deck in complete shock. He was laying his feelings down on the table for me to see. He was truly telling me how he felt. So I stood there, listening intently to his kind words. I love you for who you are, Abby Davis. I have loved you for a long time. When you accepted me to be your boyfriend, it was truly a dream come true. I didn't think you would have said yes. But I am so overjoyed to have you by my side. Which leads me into something I want to talk to you about. Am I in trouble? I asked nervously. No, of course not. The best way I can explain this is that I love you so much that I want you to be the first person to meet my mother officially. Now this was a turn of events. The reason being is that I never had honestly met his mother before. I've seen her as he got dropped off at my house for playdates and school starting at the age of 13. Once he started driving, though, I saw very little of her. He never shared information about her or even talked about her to his friends. Not even to me. She was a mysterious woman, to say the least. So, I replied, shocked and confused. Really? We have only been dating for a month. Are you sure you want to take that next step? I don't want you to feel pressured into something you don't want to do. I have never been more confident about a decision in my life. I have known you for so long now, Abby. Now that you are my significant other, I think it's time for you to meet my mom. Obviously, we can plan a day sometime next month, so it's easier for everyone. But I think it's time you get to know her. With that, I smiled at him and stepped a little closer to be touching his chest. Okay, Damien. I will meet your mom. I love you. I love you too, Abby. Very much. Then Damien scooped me in his arms and kissed me on my lips again. It was like everything became right and fixed itself. Once our lips touched, all my troubles washed away. He calmed my stormy head and made the darkness leave. He was truly my sunshine, and I wasn't going to let him slip away. As the kiss ended, I had another thought pop in my head. My demon was still on the main floor, surrounded by random people he didn't know. So as I remembered that, I started to convince Damien that we should go back to him. Hey, we should get back to Darla. She's probably lost and alone down there. I'm good now. Thank you very kindly. But I really do want to get back to her. He then nodded in agreement, and we started to head back the way we came, closing the patio door like it was before. As I made it to the top of the stairway, I started looking for Darius. I wanted to see if he was still on the dance floor or if he made his way to the snacks. I spotted him after a few seconds, and he was starting to walk off the dance floor. I began to smile for a second, knowing he was okay. But that changed in a heartbeat. For as he was walking off, a male in a pirate costume came up and grabbed his arm. Darius was taken aback and looking slightly pissed off, which I knew wasn't good. So only one thought popped into my head. This guy was trying to hit on him again and refused to take no for an answer. So as Damien came to the stair, I said one final sentence, giving him a warning, Babe, Darla's in distress and I need to stop it. With that, I quickly ran down the stairs without letting Damien respond and bolted to Darius. As I approached, I squeezed myself in between them so the pirate man would let go of his arm. As that happened, he was forced to step back and I forced Darius to stay behind me. "Leave her alone," I said in a stern voice. But the man didn't care. He continued on ranting nonsense.
What's your problem, man? She was coming onto me. If you're gonna be mad at someone, it should be her.
I didn't know such thing. I was just dancing by myself, waiting for my friends to come back. Then you came along and started acting like a pervert.
Also, not to mention the fact I saw her trying to walk away from you just now from the balcony. Just leave us alone now and hang out with a different group of people.
And what makes you think that a piece of trash like you can tell me what to do? I am one of the richest people in this room. I get what I want when I want.
Well, you're not getting my friend tonight, so back off, I shouted. As this interaction started going down, people began forming a circle around us, noticing the conflict. I could see the man getting angry, but I didn't care though. He could pout like a little boy. There was no way I was about to let Darius get felt up again without consent.
Is that a challenge then, you little freak?
I'm not challenging you to anything. And by the way, you are not that much taller than me. I just feel sorry that your mom pushed out such a childish brat like yourself into this world. What a waste. At that moment, Darius gripped my arm trying to make me back down from the fight. But I waved his arm off and stepped forward into the circle. At this point, the whole crowd was enthused by the verbal argument and was surprised at the comeback I said. I could hear Damien trying to break through the crowd to get to me, but I again was focused on the douchebag standing in front of me. His eyes were intensified from his anger, and his fists were clenched.
What did you just say to me?
You heard me. It's pigs like you that force women to use pepper spray in self-defense, because you don't like hearing the word no. You are a grown-ass man and don't even know how to treat a woman properly. So maybe you should go back to your mama and continue sucking on her tit until you grow the fuck up. It was at that exact moment my enemy had enough of my insults and started coming towards me to throw a punch. The only thing was, this time, I wasn't afraid. I was willing to defend any woman who was violated or harassed by this man. But the most important thing was that I was more willing to get into physical violence to protect my demon. He wound up and threw the first punch, but I dodged left. Then, with one swift motion, I sucker punched him from the side. He reeled and held his face for a split second. However, he just turned his body to me and stayed in place. He smiled as he said one final remark.
You hit like a bitch.
At his statement, I smiled back and raised my eyebrows briefly as I decided to prove him wrong. I then punched him straight on as hard as I could, landing my fist right into his nose. With that, he fell backwards and landed on the floor. Everyone was shocked and gasped as I did that. But yet no one was helping him get up. So I spoke to him one last time before walking away. Maybe next time, you should think before you act. Now, go find Scarlett or Robert and ask for a rag to clean up your bloody nose. With that, I turned around and started to walk back to Darius. The crowd was now resuming back to its original happiness despite the tiff, and all the girls pretty much started to stare at me. I paid no attention to the guy I got into a fight with, for I didn't care about his well-being at this time. I wasn't typically a violent person, but I hope this was something that taught him a lesson. I met up with my demon first, as he was towards the front of the circle. He instantly grabbed my hand and led me back to Damien. as we met, he instantly started to talk.
Before I say anything, are you okay?
Yeah, I mean, my hand hurts from punching the guy, but otherwise I'm fine.
Your hand is already starting to bruise. Move your fingers a little for me.
Darius said, not letting go of my hand. So I did as requested and formed fists repeatedly. As I did so, yeah, my fingers hurt and were sore, but it wasn't like anything was broken. Yeah, I may get a big bruise on my hand, but in the end I thought it was worth it. The feeling that I had from defending Darius was almost fearful to me. I didn't care that I made that guy bleed. I didn't even care that I punched him. It actually felt good to do so, and just the thought of that frightened me.
You don't feel any fractures or anything, right?
No, I think my hand is fine. Just some slight pain from hitting bone.
Cartilage, actually. But most importantly, you certainly didn't have to do that for me.
It was nothing, Darla. He needed someone to teach him a lesson anyway.
Damn, babe.
Damien said with his eyes wide and mouth slightly ajar. What? It's true.
Oh, I know. I just can't believe how hot that was. I know it's not appropriate to say that right now, but damn.
Darius and I started to laugh at his comment. However, it was cut short by Scarlet coming and scolding me out.
What the hell is going on? How come I had Michael Floretta, the owner of Floretta's Flaunting Cologne, come to me saying a demon punched him?
Okay, first off, how did you know to come to me? I'm sure there's another demon costume here besides me.
Yeah, there is. But they are all girls. You're the only one who is a demon and dressed like a guy. And seeming how he kept using he pronouns, I knew it was you. You are the only weirdo here that would dress up as the opposite gender.
Hey now, that's enough out of you.
Darius intruded.
And another thing. That disgrace of a man was being an asshole and was sexually harassing me.
Well, what do you expect, Darla? That's what happens to us girls when we are too hot for men to handle.
But Scarlet, that isn't the point. No man should act that way towards a woman. What Abby did was a good thing.
How is that possibly a good thing? Just because he may have harassed Darla a little bit, doesn't mean he did it to just more than one person. Maybe he just had his priorities set on her.
At that moment, I seen Darius get furious at what she was saying and walked away. Scarlet kept trying to scold at me, but I wasn't paying attention. I was more interested in what my partner in crime was gonna do. But I saw him walk to the DJ booth and talk to the guy quick. Then, the DJ gave him a microphone, and his voice boomed out of the speakers.
Excuse me, everyone. Can I have your attention, please?
He said politely. Everyone on the dance floor and within the house started to gather and look up at the booth as he started to speak again.
Now, I will be brief about this and get you back to partying as soon as possible. But I want to ask you guys something serious. By a show of hands, who here has been harassed by Michael Floretta tonight? The guy dressed as a pirate who got punched in the face for his behavior. And please, be honest. No one else is gonna get hurt tonight. Raise them high so your host and hostess of the party can see.
As his question echoed in the hall for everyone to hear, I started seeing hands raising in the air and voices begin to vocalize their concerns. For most of the hands I saw, they were women. I saw about 2 other guys, though, that lifted their hands up and said he was being a huge dick to everyone. So after taking in the vote and hearing the crowd out, Darius spoke again.
You see this reaction, Scarlet? That is the sight of me not being the only one. He is just a bad person and a bad friend. Maybe you should stop trying to blame someone's sex appeal for how other people act. And another thing, who here likes the male demon that's standing near Scarlet in the back? Can we get a spotlight on that person, please?
After a few seconds, I seen a bright light start to shine on me and blinded my eyes. After adjusting to the beaming blaze, I seen a crowd full of people staring at me. Except this time, they were cheering and clapping. They all seemed so happy and enthused that I was here in my costume. I smiled a little bit as I was letting it all sink in. But Darius finished his rant as the spotlight came off of me.
That's a pretty damn good costume, and it's sad to hear other people have tried to ruin the night by giving such mean comments to that person. So please, for the rest of the night, be respectful to one another and have fun. Thanks again, everyone. And the DJ will now play a good ditty for you all. Thank you.
And with that, he walked off the stage. As he walked, the crowd was cheering and celebrating Darius's speech. I looked at Scarlet and seen that she was flabbergasted with embarrassment. Her face was growing red, and she had her arms crossed. I somewhat wanted to go over and comfort her, but yet I somewhat wanted to dwell within the moment. Darius totally stood up for himself in this situation and gathered facts to throw it all back in her face. Maybe this was going to be a lesson for her instead of just running her mouth all the time. Also, a lot of girls started coming up to me and asking how my hand was feeling from punching that jerk. They were using he pronouns towards me, and it made me laugh. They couldn't tell I was a girl, but eventually it was gonna come to an end. I say that because with everything happening all at once, Scarlet somewhat started talking out of embarrassment and acted upon her anger.
Why are you all saying him? That's my friend Abby, and she is a woman.
She then stormed over to my side and quickly ripped off my wig and wig cap. She pulled my actual hair a little bit, so I somewhat shouted in pain. But Damien was quick on the fly with that one. For as I was recovering from the abrupt action, he grabbed her by the shoulders and walked away with her in his grasp. Now, my long hair was out and all the girls were looking at me. However, they were jumping for joy instead of being mad. "Why are you all so excited?" I asked questioningly.
Because we can now say Michael Floretta got punched by an average woman. It makes the story even better.
Then they all ran off and started talking in their friend groups, spreading the word. As for me, I stayed put as Darius walked to my side. He started to grab my arm, breaking my concentration. He pulled me towards the side to get us away from the scene. But instead of going to a different area, I was guided to the front door and was about to walk out. However, I suddenly heard Damien's voice echo in the hall.
Babe, wait up. I'm coming too.
I then turned to him and saw how red in the face he was. Scarlet was following closely behind, trying to make him stop and talk.
Damien, please. I didn't know you two were dating. You should have told me that.
I don't need to tell you anything. What happens between her and I doesn't have to be any of your business. If you would have just been kinder, you probably would have figured it out in a more calming way. What you told Darla was already bad enough, but to now embarrass and judge my girlfriend is the last straw for me. You will be lucky if we are friends after this. Good riddance to your stupid rush.
Damien then took me by the hand and kissed it gently. After that gesture, Darius opened the front door and let us out. So with Damien by my side, we all left Scarlet to reflect upon her actions. Damien handed me back my wig and wig cap that Scarlet ripped off my head. I was shocked that she did that, but yet it seemed like she was jealous that I was getting all the attention. What Darius did also was not extremely called for, but I assumed he was giving her a taste of her own medicine. I didn't care at this point, though. I was still aggravated at how Scarlet reacted. I mean, yeah, I punched a guy, and I never do that. But still, she deliberately called me weird and made fun of me for dressing up like a guy. I have dealt with so much from her, but this was ridiculous. As we walked, Damien came with me to my car and started to talk again.
I am sorry she acted like a lunatic. She had no right to do any of that.
It's okay, Damien. It's whatever.
No, it isn't, Abby. You can admit that. And what she told Darla is most certainly not true. I hope you know that too, Darla.
He said, turning his head to her.
I am very well aware. I don't take her words to heart.
I can tell, and you did an amazing job. Thank you for not taking any of that crap.
He then went over to her to give a hug. I could see Darius felt uncomfortable to a point, but yet he wrapped him in a hug as well. After a brief few seconds, though, they unwrapped their arms and Damien came back to me. He then grabbed my wrist and pulled me closer to him. He held me in his arms, making me press into him. It was obviously a very tense moment between us. I could feel my stomach tying in knots from him holding me. His left hand was placed on my lower back, while his right was brushing my face again. His gentle touch was hypnotizing me. I just wanted to curl into his chest and drown myself in his comfort. I could smell his cologne that smelled of fresh pine trees. His breathing was steady, and his eyes were full of lust and love. So as we stood within this embrace, Damien spoke up again.
You are the most important thing to me, Abby. I don't want anyone hurting you physically or emotionally. But yet I know I can't protect you from everyone. I wish I could. However, I want you to know that I am here for you and will support you no matter what. I love you with all my heart, Abby. Don't ever forget that.
I won't. I love you too. Very much. And with that, Damien kissed me passionately. His kiss electrified me, filled me with feelings I have never really felt before. The butterflies in my stomach intensified while I started becoming weak at the knees. I didn't know why. I think it was because of some other factors were physically happening to me. But again, I didn't understand what it was. These feelings were overflowing my body, almost to the point my knees were about to buckle. However, Damien stopped and started to smile.
Have a good night, my love. Drive safe. You too, Darla.
You too, babe. And with that, he walked to his car, and we drove our separate ways.
This has been Chapter 1, Party Time, from the book The Forbidden Truth. Tune into the next video for Chapter 2. Thank you for listening.